welcome to the Science Fiction and Fantasy Factory. I'm thrilled to have science fiction author, soon to be fantasy author, Ingrid Moon in the pod. Welcome aboard, Ingrid.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I know you're kind of demure. You're a little bit, don't look at me, don't look at me. But you are the first place winner for your latest two installments of the Saxen trilogy, the Warrior Shade and the Tempest Fury. Yep. Not only front runners for nominee, but you are the first place winner of the Outstanding Creators Award for 2025. Congratulations.
Thanks. It's quite an honor to have anybody like your books is one thing, but to
see what I mean? You are demure. You're an excellent author.
Demure.
The real privilege of being with you next to you at LA Comic-Con, where we shared a table and we barked our books. Mm-hmm. And now go over to outstandingcreators.com, where you can see the listing and you can see Ingrid under multiple categories for these two terrific books. And if you're interested in all things Ingrid Moon, go over to ingridmoon.com. She's got a mailing list. I get her emails regularly on her day-to-day writing foibles and
They're
quibbles.
Monthly now.
I know, but it seems like you're sharing all with your emails. It's a lot of fun to track you, and you share with some teasers with what's in store down the Ingrid Moon pipeline. Tell us a little bit about Saxen. Tell us a little bit about the Saxen trilogy, because it's garnering some accolades here. Classic 3-act arc of a sci-fi space opera series.
When I wrote the first one, I wasn't really anticipating writing a series, so the first one stands alone for sure. And then the two that follow are kind of like a follow-up, like what happens after the horrors that they go through in the first book. It's kind of a dark Ender's Game meets The Expanse kind of story. So you've got this big political world that they live in. It's really, I'm really big on world building and making sure, characters have a lot of world to work inside, because the whole point is like the characters have to be alive and be real.
And the first book is The Handler's Gambit.
The Handler's Gambit, right.
That's what triggered the whole series.
We start there.
Okay.
But if you want to know why the whole thing won all these awards or whatever, then you just buy the box set. So.
Yeah, and those were actually popular at LA Comic-Con. You sold a bunch of the box set.
Yeah. People taking the chance, right?
Yes.
The box set is pretty too.
Yeah.
So
give us an overlay of the land. So what's the setup for the Handler's Gambit? What's going on?
So in the Handler's Gambit, we have Turner Boon, who is a young strategist who works for the bad guy. The bad guy is this really horrible, vengeful Saxen who has elemental powers. Saxen all have elemental powers. Some of them don't use them very much, but some do. Usually they specialize in one. And his is kind of like electricity, using aspects of electrical currents to, he just walks around with a static field around him all the time. He's mean. And anyway, so Boon spends his entire time trying to figure out how to escape, because he does not like working for the bad guy. And he feels like because he's secretly betraying this bad guy to save the bad guy's rival, he's always under the threat of death. So it's a lot of high stakes there, not just for him, but for probably millions of people that he's trying to protect. So without any spoilers, basically he has to then handle the Saxen assassin, who's a young woman with all of the elemental powers. She's been trained to use all of them, and so she's really good at killing everybody. And she has kind of an attitude, definitely sassy. Does not care that he is supposed to be her boss. Does not like the warlord either, and pretty much they both have the same goal, but two different ways of approaching it. So ultimately, they will achieve their goal. And then the Warrior's Shade picks up a year later when Boon now has his own fleet and he is trying to make his way in the world. And it's a much bigger world for him now. And he does not do a very good job of running his fleet because that's not what his strength is. So he struggles, and he also struggles with a lot of survivor's remorse for all the people who died in his attempt to free himself and free Elion, the Saxen assassin. Anyway, so then those two books basically follow that trajectory where he gets tangled up in a big political coup with the coup is the coalition, who is an empire that's basically, he's a fugitive of their empire. So he's kind of like got the double stake there too. So it's very twisty and very dark, and it's fun character ride, I think.
So the award judges love your stuff.
Apparently.
And based on their reviews and your accolades, they like your prose. So they think that it's kind of sparkly, that it's fast, that it moves, that you do paint a picture of a world which is compelling and also really accessible, fun to read.
Yeah, I don't like to write stylized writing. I like it to just be pretty straightforward. I don't like to read stylized writing very much. So I just want to read a story and see the characters and see what they're doing. I don't care. It doesn't have to be all super fancy writing. It just needs to be readable and fun and give you the visual sense of being in the world, the immersive sense. So.
And it obviously succeeded that way, as far as the judges go, and as far as your fan club goes. Because when we're selling our books, you've got your loyal following, and they love you and they want more. And you do present a terrific best practice when it comes to writing, not just science fiction, but fiction in general, which is straightforward, to the point, engaging dialogue, and the story, one situation flows into the next in an organic, natural kind of way that is nonetheless inevitable yet still surprising.
Thank you.
So if we've got indie authors who are in the works with their stuff and they want to be successful, they want recognition, and they want to move it forward, then these are some great best practices to share. And it's embodied in your stuff. And you're also amenable to feedback from your fans too. So you email them, they're communicating with you, they share what they like, they make recommendations, and you often even take them up on it.
I would say that so when I was writing The Warrior's Shade, I trapped myself in a kind of a weird ending. It was not the ending that I had planned, but I didn't want a rescue the princess situation. So I said the princess she's good at making bad decisions for herself. So she makes a bad decision, and that pretty much ruins Boon's life. So so I had to pick up with the Tempest Fury. It's a lot more about Elion and a little less about, the focus is not so much on Boon. He has a big aspect in it too, of course. But she really starts to pick up the slack because she made a bad decision and now she has to deal with those consequences. And I don't know, I just sort of developed and evolved her story a little bit. And it's just a weird, it's like, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
See, this is your demure side coming up.
I know.
Yeah. So tell us about your writing habits. So you're busy, you're a mom, you're a teacher, you've got a lot going on. How do you fit in writing? Writing is time intensive. It's hard.
The best way is to avoid your family.
It actually gives you a great excuse. Leave me alone. I'm writing the next outstanding creator award.
Sorry, I can't be dinner tonight. I'm busy writing. Look, Stephen King says you should write 4 to 6 hours a day, and I only get mine in the evening. So sorry, family time. Right. That's not true. So I will definitely try to write 5 days a week, a minimum of 4 hours if I can. Sometimes I get a lot more. Like Sundays, I pretty much set aside as my day. I like to write a lot on that day. I can get as much as 15,000 words. Maybe most of that'll be thrown away, but that's okay because it gets you into the flow and it gets the story to start chugging forward, gets the characters to come alive. So it's always good that way. And then for the rest of the week, I'll always have these stupid ideas that pop into my head. Oh, and the scene in book 3, I need to do this thing. And so I'll jump in the middle. So the book I'm writing now, I'm actually writing all 3 of them kind of at the same time.
So tell us about the next series.
So
I'm
this
sure
next
the fans are biting their fingernails and eager for a preview.
I'm just going to admit this right now. I'm atheist. But I'm writing I wanted to write about a paladin who was very deeply religious and very connected with his god. And then I was like, no, I want him to be an assassin because I like assassins, right? We like killing people. It's more fun that way. I mean, after all, writing is the outlet for, chaos and murder that you want to do. So I made him an assassin. But then the first scene I wrote it from the perspective of one of his victims. And then he doesn't kill her. And then things evolve. And so eventually I end up with these 8 characters who, some of whom came from when I was in middle school. We played D&D and those were some characters from that. And so I sort of evolved them. He's still the main character, but it's kind of like all 8 of these characters. It's a little more Games of Thrones-y where there's they're connected, but they're all in different parts of this world. And I'm still struggling with how to really tie it all together into a narrative that makes sense and doesn't just jump all over the place. So that's kind of the struggle I'm at. I have a full first book as far as writing goes. But I think I still need another 30% on top of that to really make it make sense, but without dragging. That's the hard part too. One of the things that the judge in the Outstanding Creator Awards said was that my middles lag, which is funny because the middle is where I build. That's my tent pole. The whole working up to that middle and then all the stuff that happens after that middle is how I structure my stories. But somehow, apparently that's not. I guess we start getting up toward that middle, it starts to lag. So I want to make sure we don't have a sagging story. We don't have a sagging middle book, etc. So,
well, the perspective of a writer is often very different from a critic, right? Opposite sides of the house. It could be subjective, but you're very, very good at taking in feedback and integrating it to tweak and optimize your approach.
That's where I was going with the other conversation that I lost track. The feedback that I got from the Warrior Shade really helped me, both from the betas and from critics and from reviews, helped me sort of figure out how to shape the Tempest's Fury so that I could make sure that it satisfied my readers' desires, needs, right? You don't want to be dissatisfied at the end of a 3rd movie, kind of like Return of the Jedi. You're just like, what?
Right.
What does this have to do with anything?
Yeah, so. Teddy bears. Where did this Ewok stuff happen? Right.
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that it had a pretty good and I am not even 100% certain that I like the Tempest's Fury as much as my original plan. But I had to evolve it because A, feedback, and B, the characters made bad choices. So
just like we do. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you an outliney writer or a dive-in swimming kind of writer? I'm assuming you're a dive-in swimmy kind of writer.
Call it pantser. Yeah, I'm a pantser. Fly by the seat of your pants. Characters write their stories. That's why I can write 300,000 words and pare it down into a 100,000 word story because it's the characters have to write their story and they have to come alive. And if they're not alive for me, they're not going to be alive for you. And so I really just let them sort of do their thing, and then I will pare it down into something that the reader will enjoy. Because I'm sure the reader would love all 300,000 words, but they would fall asleep halfway through, and then they'd be like, where's this going? And then, so, yeah.
Yeah, so being conscious of the audience obviously engenders more readers. It gains favor with reviewers, and it also makes you feel good too, which is you're being responsive to an audience who's actually inhaling your stuff enthusiastically, and it propels the whole engine to the to the next novel. So by seat of your pants writing, it's flowing out of you, you're typing along, and then you later consolidate, you polish, you remove stuff, you move stuff around.
And beta readers, and I always need to add people to my list of beta readers because, you know, you may have 10 of them, but none of them are available at a certain time or whatever.
Right.
So, you know, get on my newsletter and then you find out about how to be a beta reader. But the beta readers are the best feedback you can possibly get, I think, because, I mean, other than having, I guess, a developmental editor, but a developmental editor is one person's opinion. Maybe they're like super professional and know what they're talking about and everything. That's great. And that can help you a lot. And I wouldn't mind if I could afford one. But beta readers, there's multiple perspectives. And when you start to figure out what works and what isn't going to work for your story from what they say, then you can kind of mold it a little more to make sure that more of your readers are going to be satisfied. So I love beta readers.
Yeah, and they're humans. They're not bots.
Yeah. Right. And they're readers. They're not professional developmental editors who have a particular thing in their mind, I guess, or whatever. So
yeah, it comes from here instead of up here, and that could be much more valuable. They might not be able to precisely articulate changes that they would recommend, but they can convey a feeling about the story.
But some of them do. Some of them are also writers. Yeah, so they'll give you.
Like
I've had
this scene doesn't make sense, or why did this character do that?
The Handler's Gambit would not have been as good as it is without the one specific beta reader who told me, when you jump into the next chapter or the next scene, I don't know where I am. I'm lost. And so I was like, that's important writing thing throughout for all writing, not just for this book, that you have to ground the audience and where they are, who's the perspective, etc., right away, or else they're going to be confused. And so you don't want to confuse anybody. So I said, okay, well then I have to rewrite the beginnings of a lot of these chapters to make sure that they, but without making it boring. Like I don't want to spend like 9 hours talking about, okay, we're on a spaceship and we're flying around.
Yeah, and it's a fine balance between holding the hand of a reader, providing enough descriptive detail, smooth transitions, context for the story, and then being overbearing as a voiceover narrator,
right?
As we see in many movies, right? Which is sometimes excruciating, which is just shut up and let the story tell itself, right?
Let the story go. So what I usually do to do that now is I will establish a little bit of a visual of where they are. They're looking out a window at a blue planet, right? Or whatever. The blue light is shining through. It's bouncing off the table. They're in a conference room. Okay, that's pretty much all you need, right? But I'll make that try to match the mood of the character whose POV you're in. So I could have done a red planet and she was angry, but I did a blue planet because she was depressed or whatever, right? So I try to like make that grounding not just a place or a setting, but it's part of the whole feeling and vibe of that scene.
Right. It's what people used to say, the gestalt of your scene. You know that expression, gestalt?
Vaguely.
It's exactly what you say, which is it's a red planet because there's anger, or it's a blue planet because it's moody. It's all integrated into the lived experience of the characters in a context, the reader absorbing that context and interpreting the themes through the descriptions. So that's literature, basically. So yeah, it's good. It's good writing. It's good fiction.
I don't know if I could write literature. That's why I do sci-fi fantasy. It's much more fun.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if there's a real demarcation between the two, but there is a sense of writing for a general audience as opposed to a niche audience. And there is a sensitivity to appealing to the reader rather than oneself as a writer.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's where maybe I come in the equation, which is writing for myself. And based on the feedback from, the Outstanding Creator Award judges, I succeeded in pleasing myself, if not them. So, give credit where you give credit where credit's due. And, I came across as the concept album that some people would like and other people would not. And I thought that was a fair assessment of my own Johnny Fazuli extravaganza. The one piece of feedback that I didn't think was fair necessarily was that I made a mess of my book. And I think that has to do with creating the confusion that you so conscientiously try to avoid. I didn't worry about that. I wasn't too worried that the reader would be confused or not. I just went for it. And confusion translates to a feeling of not only chaos, but messiness. Like there's no point to this. If a reader's disengaged, then they're not going to be able to see the connection. So no matter how hard you try to bring it all together and make it a continuous whole, they're not going to see it. So there you have it. So kudos to you for not confusing people. And I think every equation needs two sides. So I think that's why we complement each other, at least in terms of our approach, which is you have one writer going hell's bells, and the other one is actually sensitive to their audience.
Well, I write the way I read, right? I like to read simple, straightforward, get into the characters in the world, and I'm not interested. I can't read Neuromancer. I can't read some of those other cyberpunk ones that I can't remember the names of right now.
Yeah, and those are coincidentally enough my favorites, right? Like the science fiction poetry, the Neil Stevenson density, the Thomas Pynchon kind of cryptic layering. I love that stuff, and the judges, acknowledge that too. That this is a different kind of approach to writing, and in a sense, we write the books that we want to read. And I think that's why you're good at what you do, which is you can tell when you're reading your prose that you're having a good time. Like this is a book that you love. And it's a labor of love. It's hard, but reading your stuff, when I read your stuff, I can tell you're like.
It was especially true for Biohunter because I really loved writing Mira. She was just so much fun.
Yes. And she is a super fun character. She's great. And a little getting to know you, you have Mira-like qualities, I think, which kind of shine through. Just as I'm a mirror reflection in ways of Johnny Fazuli in my own ADHD kind of way. So we write about ourselves and we have fun with it. And if you as a writer are having fun, you're enjoying yourself and you're going for it, it's going to come out on the page. And if you're into William Gibson and Thomas Pynchon and you just go nuts, then that's for a particular kind of reader too, who comes along for that kind of insane ADHD ride. And if you're into a nice story, then there's another audience there, and arguably a bigger one.
Very first con I did, okay, maybe not the first, the second con I did where I was at a table selling my books, right? Someone came up and he flipped through and he started reading like random chapter beginnings or whatever. And he's like, I really need to see that it's clean writing because I don't want to read something heady, right? And I was like, oh, you don't get any more straightforward. Like it's pretty much short sentences, like it's not convoluted in any way, at least I hope not. So, and he bought the book. So there you go.
There you go. And they'll steer him clear of my side of the table. And then I did a pretty good job of spotting neurodivergent males from across the floor.
Well, I think it's cons. They're kind of all neurodivergent.
And pretty much they would gravitate to your side or my side based on this kind of innate disposition. Do you want a 2x4, hit across the head, or do you want to really enjoy a free-flowing, easy-to-read narrative? And I think that's what makes writing great and the genre of science fiction fun too, that you could take these different approaches and there's something for everybody.
Exactly. And that's with our upcoming Pasadena Comic-Con, where we're going to have the four of us there with 5 different kinds of science fiction. Like anybody should be able to find something at that table, right?
Absolutely. And that's going to be Ingrid Moon, Mookie Spitz. We've got Greg Sorber with his
Blake and Sherry Shimshock.
Oh, Blake and Sherry are coming too.
Yeah,
Okay, great. It's all in the family, and
yeah,
everyone's been a guest in the
yeah.
factory, and then we could do a follow up, which will be super
That
fun
would be fun, like a little
to
panel.
do. Yeah, yeah, it'd be a big panel. It'd be a lot of, it'd be like the Brady Bunch here with everyone crammed together, but that would be a lot. Blake and Sherry are fabulous. They're
Mhm.
great. And they made me feel so wonderful too, that they're such a great couple. Like you can tell they've got that
Yeah,
dynamic, and the fact that they write together like that and they complement each other so well. So
basically, yeah.
Blake is kind of like me, like woo, he's thinking up the crazy stuff,
Uh-huh.
and then Sherry's sitting there organizing it and putting it into a digestible format, and they
Exactly.
feed off of each other perfectly in that complementary way, which is really great to see. and
Yeah,
and
and
they've got nice chemistry.
their books are, they're great. I can't wait for number 3. I've been, like, dying for number 3 to come out. They are so much fun. They're lighthearted. They're, 'cause mine's so dark and, like, Sherry even said to me in the car, she was like, your stuff is you really like to punish your characters." And I was like, "Hell yeah,
Yeah,
what's the point?" Right? But then their stuff is not like that at all. I mean, obviously, there's stakes and there's all kinds of but
yeah,
it's just
their
a
their writing is almost zany. They have a
oh, not quite
zany.
I don't know if it's zany, but it's definitely it's much more lighthearted.
Yeah,
So with aliens and
yeah.
it's I call it a MIB meets 007 because it's got aliens and mysteries and got your agent, your intergalactic agent and all this. It's just
Yeah, it's
it's I love
zany.
it. I don't know. I
Yeah,
think Tony Paluzzi's pretty zany.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think it's wonderful that everyone's got such a different way of going about telling stories. That
Yeah.
that's a fun group.
Yep.
Super cool. And then Pasadena is end of January,
January
right?
25th, Sunday, January 25th.
Sunday, January. So if you're listening to this pod, come see us if you're nearby. Right? We're gonna
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
share our wares.
Not an expensive con, so I think it's like less than $20 to get in. So
Yeah, much more informal than the LA Comic Con mega franchise super dome.
crazy.
Yeah. And then you've been talking about fantasy as being your new genre to explore. What's putting fire under your butt for that? What's the shift like? Is it just a mood shift? Is it just wanting to change stuff up a little bit? You mentioned this paladin kind of approach. You're infusing it with some spirituality. If not God, then a feeling of magic
Goddess.
and religion and faith, because the Saxon series is very space opera,
Yeah,
big tech, big corporate versus the little guy.
definitely.
So
The I think that I just I wanted to get away from the science fiction for a little bit just to clear my brain and so I wrote a little novella that's kind of a cozy-ish fantasy mystery with 2 bards, which I love that one. I was like, I'm gonna make a series out of this. So I'm not even promoting it yet until I rebrand it and get it ready to go. But then I was like, I want to write like I don't know if I want to write epic. Right. I'm not gonna go fight the dragon and save the world crap. I'm not into that myself. So I mean, we got that in Tolkien and now we're done. So um I like some of the more subtle, like Assassin's Apprentice, which has almost no plot at all. It's just kid growing up and learning to become an assassin and all the crap he goes through as an adolescent. It's really has there's not even any real assassinations in it. It's just it was like riveting. It was great. I loved it. And then there's my friend Liz Sauco has hers is um I don't know how to describe it even, but she has a goddess too, but their goddess is very like active in the world, shall we say? And I just really it was so much fun. Not as dark, but definitely had like some darker influences, I guess. But it was fun. Love that. So, but it's also not a go out and save the universe kind of fantasy, right? And so I like that. I like that not traditional epic fantasy variant. And so that's kind of where mine's going. There is a little bit of a go fight the monster, but it's only 2 of the 8 characters, and they're all paired. That was another thing that just sort of came about. And the reason I'm still writing it, and the fire that's under my butt right now is I love these characters. I love what I created. Some of them are really hard to write. The bad lady is really hard to write, but the princess is really hard to like. Some of these are really hard, but I'm enjoying the challenge of it. And then the characters that I'm most invested in, I could write anything. I could like make just books about just them. So it's kind of like it's just being in love with your own world, I guess. So you want to write more.
Yeah,
You know
I think
that.
your stuff really works because of the character focus too.
Yeah.
You do a terrific job with the world building, but to your point, you don't go into too much excruciating detail. It's more of a backdrop.
The world is there.
That kind of fuels the mood and fuels the plot. But your characters drive it. They have wonderful dialogue back and forth, and there's that each has their own unique personality, which instantly becomes evident, which is again the sign of a good writer. They're there, they're present, which is cool. And as a reader, you could tell that you're into them. You like them, even if they're bad, even if they're nasty people. You like that. That comes out too. You're having fun bringing them to life. You're having fun setting them loose, which is where a lot of the dramatic tension comes. And in that sense, it's emergent, it's organic, it's not forced. And that makes for compelling reading.
You know what's interesting too? This is a total side note, but so as I'm writing this fantasy, right? And one of the characters is like a 9-year-old girl. And when I write, I tend to, since I'm trying to be in that person's mind, obviously 9-year-old girl's going to think and narrate differently than, the big paladin hero guy, right? So, but I noticed that when I went back and I was looking at different chapters, that I use a lot of the same tagline language. I don't know. So this man, she says this man all the time. And I didn't really consciously do that. And when I get to the last chapter that she's in, and she's having a complete freak out. Everything is this man. I didn't know I had written that I subconsciously must have known. But so when I went back to the beginning chapters, I'm like, oh my God, she says this man here and this man here. And she says it all the time. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like a motif for her. I didn't do it on purpose.
That's again the sign that you're embodying that character.
I guess so.
In my book, the bad guy is a Boltzmann brain. So it formed organically out in the distant dying universe. And she's all powerful thanks to accessing the mathematics behind all of reality. She can control the equations. And she appears in the form of Alice, Tenniel's Alice from Wonderland, as an avatar. Mm-hmm. And as a 7-year-old Elizabethan girl or Victorian girl, she speaks like that too. So she doesn't say, I have the emergence equation. She says, I have the builder numbers. So na, 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 na. And that sense of being a spoiled little girl and yet being all powerful was fun for me.
It's a good contrast.
She's wreaking havoc. She's got the keys to reality itself. And she's like, such a spoiled little brat. That's fun. And then that creates its own kind of dynamic. And to your point, her own way of speaking and acting.
Yeah.
And then she meddles with the characters. She just appears in dreams, causes accidents. And that's super fun as a writer to embody that kind of persona.
Yeah.
And it, it makes it fun for the readers to kind of get into you getting into your world. So really, really fun. And fantasy, I think for you makes sense because I think where you're strongest is in the characters and is in the raw creativity of it. And you're no longer burdened by some of the tropes of science fiction, right? The corporation.
Fantasy now.
The start, but they're a new ensemble of tropes. So as a writer, it's kind of fun to switch gears, I would guess, right?
Another thing that's funny too is with I hate lawful good characters. I hate them. I hate Captain America. I hate them. They're boring. They piss me off. I want to punch him.
Superman is like that. That's why Superman sucks. Because he's invincible and he's Dudley Do-Right.
Exactly. And
So where do you go with that as a writer?
so that's
Superman.
why my big lawful good paladin is also the assassin for the religious order. When they want to do something, they just couch it as it's the goddess's will.
So he flicks the
I
switch.
have to do this because she's making me do it.
See, that's fun. That's fun.
But
You're
he still
making
feels bad about it.
Superman do evil stuff in the name of truth, justice, and the American way. That's good. That's good.
Or the Captain America has, well, I have to blow up that city full of innocent people in order to,
Right.
in order to save the rest of the world. Bummer.
Right.
You know.
Right. And that's another great aspect of your writing, which is the arc of the character. So you've got, Mara changes in Biohunter, and your characters start at a certain state. Shit happens. And then they're different. And some of your characters are stubbornly the same, and that's the point too.
Like Elion, although she
Yeah.
grows.
Yeah. But see, that's cool too, which is there's an arc to it, which is it's not just the story unfolds, but internally they go through transformations. And that makes for fun segues book to book too, because you end with a kind of emotional cliffhanger too. There could be some plot resolution, but they're still emotionally hanging, right? And then when you reactivate them in the next installment, it's fresh, and you really wonder where it's going to go from there. Not only in terms of the plot, but emotionally, in terms of what their true motivation is, how they see themselves, and even ostensibly what their goals are, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So every character, like for example, all my 8 characters, including bad guys, bad guys have to have an arc too. These characters, for every book, I have an arc. I already have this all planned out now, even though I don't plot ahead really, but I have an idea of where I'm going. So that each character has an arc for each of the 3 books. And so then you have the bigger overarching arc for each character as well. So, and then you see like the little girl, like kind of hers is more of a circle, but it's still a big growth for her, right? And you see this like transformation of her mentality in that, and how she's like almost the wisest and most, I don't want to say innocent, the most well, she's the wisest of all of these characters. And she's only like 9 because she just sees the world differently. So anyway,
That's very
important.
cool. Yeah. In my book, the one with the greatest arc, I think, is Casey Floyd, who is the real scientist that Johnny Fazuli, the con man bullshit artist, hires to build the reality engine. So she's legit. He's totally full of shit. Their first meeting, he's physically assaulted by the scientist. They beat him up, literally. And then by the end of the book, they're compadres teaming up to blow up another character's
enemies
glory.
to allies.
Yes, yeah. So it's a trope, it's a cliche, but it kind of organically happened as I was writing it, that their lines crossed and then came together. And the scientist is great because they're disciplined and they're for real, but at the same time closed in and forced to abide. And Johnny is way over the top, and with that comes a sense of release. And the scientist knows that to break a paradigm and bring about scientific revolution, you need to see out of the box. And if anyone sees out of the box, is someone who doesn't even see a box, and that's someone like Johnny Fazuli. So their union makes sense, and then the arc of their relationship makes sense too, because where are they going to go from there? They're kind of locked together to do something completely insane, and they start enemies and end up teamed up. So I got a lot of satisfaction with that character, even if Johnny himself as the protagonist learns absolutely nothing. And that was part of the point too.
And so the tropes are all great. It's okay to have tropes, and it's also okay to reverse tropes, which I did a little bit in the Saxen Saga. But it's how they get there, right?
Yes.
So I don't expect people to just be the same throughout. And in the Warrior's Shade, they end on a high of, and the end of the Handler's Gambit ends on a high because they've kind of accomplished their goal. And then, so we're riding that high in the next book, and then he loses everything. And that's his arc there, is he goes from being like, I am confident and can do this, to, oh crap, I have just fucked everything up. And now, not only have I lost everything, but the assassin's out there, and the whole world, the whole galaxy is going to die now, because if they kill her, we're all dead. So,
yeah.
Because she has
it has to be organic. It has to, one thing has to naturally fold into the other. It has to be in sync with the characters, their goals. The obstacles need to make sense, and fighting those obstacles to get what they want needs to kind of flow out. And that interaction is where the drama is, and where the credibility of you as the writer is so paramount. You know, spoiler alert, the Johnny book ends with him really just completely wiped out, broken arms and legs, and he's wrapped like a mummy in a Las Vegas hospital room, which is a fitting kind of finale for the ultimate con artist and bullshitter who promises the universe to everybody. He's completely incapacitated at the end.
It's a very cartoonish visual, so it kind of goes along with his very cartoonish nature.
Absolutely. And he's got a big bouffant of blonde hair, and he's about 6'8". He suffers from Marfan syndrome, which is the same condition Abraham Lincoln had: extra long arms and legs and very thin. He's like a stretched out person. And in his mummified condition, his blonde hair is sticking straight up and out. And he's in moratorium now. And in a sense, the series is in moratorium as I finish up the sequel. So I'm kind of like Johnny, like I want to get to it and wrap it up. So that's kind of a fun transition. And it literally gives me a breather. So Johnny is rehabilitating to regain his faculties while I'm finishing the narrative. So that kind of feels, it gives a little breather to Johnny and me to get the next book out. And that's kind of fun too.
You need the breather.
Yeah.
I think that was one other problem I had when I was writing Fury, was I felt, because I had a plan already, a plan, not a plot, but a plan. And then I messed up because I changed the end of book 2. And so then that wasn't going to work anymore. But then also I was trying to get it out quickly. I really want, and I didn't. I ended up delaying like 8 months because I just couldn't rework what I had messed up. So, and then I rewrote that thing like 27 times. But yeah, it's like, you need to take a break. That's why I was like, I need to write something else for a while. I have a plenty I could write in that universe right now, with or without Boon and Elion. But I definitely need a break. So that's a big emotional toll, that last book. So.
Yeah, but the 2 books were rapid fire, right? So
no, April and April.
Oh, so it's 1 year apart from Warrior's Shade to Tempest Fury. It was about 1 year. Okay.
Yeah, so the Handler's Gambit I wrote 13 years ago, a version of it. And then so in 2024, I completely revised it, workshopped it, lots of beta readers, all sorts of good stuff. And then I created the new version of that, much better for sure. And I published that in November of 24. And then in April, but I had already written the sequel. Like I'd already written a sequel to it before I decided to, I had to retcon it a little bit. So that's why I had to republish that one. And then, so I put that one out, and then April, I had to completely rewrite after I retcon one for the other. Then I had to go retcon the sequel. So anyway, then Warrior Shade came out, and then that was in April of 25 or 23, and then April of 24, November. So that was pretty rapid fire. That was close because I'd already kind of established the next. So, but then when I messed up this, like it could have been in November, but I couldn't do it. And I was writing biopic. So,
but both books got into back to the contest, the Outstanding Creator Award. Both got in for this year, right? And you won first place for both, which must again feel pretty good. And they did call the Saxen series their very favorite series of them all.
Not
So
Star Wars. I mean,
that must feel good.
it's so many good.
Demure Ingrid, it must feel pretty good. I
It
think
does.
what indie authors who are listening, you mentioned 13 years ago you had the inchoate version of Handler's Gamut, which wound up being the first in the trilogy. How did you get from these ideas floating around in your head, this general mood that you want to be a writer, to actually flicking the switch and going for it? It's always that first step that is the toughest. And when, I think this is an ancillary but related question, when did you convince yourself that you are a writer? Because to me, that's the pivotal moment. It's not so much when people acknowledge you, it's when you acknowledge yourself that you are doing it.
I've always been a writer. I've known that since I was able to hold a pencil. Like, honestly, like a lot of people are like, I've been writing since I was 5. Like, truthfully, honestly, like I've been writing stories since
Yeah.
I was 5. I even have notebooks here that have handwritten fantasy novel shit in there. That's
Right.
it's, but very immature. But still, like I was writing. So when 13 years ago, I said I promised I would publish by the time I was 40. So really, it was 14 years ago now, I guess. So when I was 40, I decided I had written that story. I had my son and I had a lot of depression. I had postpartum depression that lasted like 4 years, postpartum psychosis. I had all kinds of issues. And a lot of that darkness came from that. And a friend of mine in England, we used to banter back and forth with these like characters. And then I just basically took all of that and ran with it and made my own story. And then in the retcon version, that whole character's out. Half those characters are, it's really like, I really rewrote a lot, but the focus I think is much better this way. But when I said, okay, I'm going to publish it, but I don't want to spend 8 years trying to find a freaking agent, right? I don't want to deal with this. This is like, I just needed to get out there. And at that time, Create Space it was like Amazon was brand new and Create Space was brand new. Publish yourself, and Smashwords existed. And so I basically just threw it out there. I think I sold 17 copies total. And now I'm trying.
That's just fantastic, though, and the fact that you had beta readers from the get-go.
I didn't back then. Nobody read it.
Oh, so this is the inchoate version. This is the beta of of Handler's Gamut. Okay.
Yeah. And then
it's been work in progress for that. So what's the time differential between getting it out there in its pristine format and the published version that's out now within the trilogy?
Do you mean the first one? 13, 14 years?
Like you mentioned, you threw it out there, and with the early publishing platforms.
I just completely lost interest in that. I don't think I wrote for like years.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And then one day we were on a cruise and here's the sequel. So literally on my phone wrote 90,000 words on the cruise. Wow. My cousins were like, why aren't you paying attention to us? And I'm like, I don't know. I can't. So
yeah, that's interesting. A lot of folks on the other end of that have trouble imagining what that's like, where it just takes you. The muse appears, makes herself, or himself available, and then that's it. You're just a conduit for this stuff. And I definitely appreciate that when the flick is switched and the switch is flicked, you got to go for it. It's like when you're on a winning streak at a night of poker, you're just going all in. And it's the same thing creatively too. You got to hit the gas. You got to hit the gas all the way and take advantage of it. I've been a writer my whole life too. One of my first things I wrote was on an old Corona typewriter, those manual typewriters. I'm learning how to type, and I must have been like 11 years old, and I was all into the short stories of Isaac Asimov, and I liked his math and science essays too. So I had a mix of science and science fiction. And the first story I ever wrote was inspired by a short story he had about infinity. He had a tale about infinity with characters, and he had another one that was part of his essays. So I was all obsessed with this multiverse infinite idea. And I wrote a story where it ended with an infinite number of Mookie Spitzes on an infinite number of typewriters in the multiverse writing this story, an infinite variation. And that's the first thing I wrote. And that is essentially the backdrop for the
So it
Fazuli
sticks with you forever.
escapade. So it just stuck. I mean, it's almost like, fast forward decades later, I had to get it out, and I had to find a vehicle that I could do it that would be compelling, not just your usual multiverse Avengers kind of Destiny Stone kind of schmaltz, but something that came from here.
Yeah, and very unique approach to it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, kind of weird, throwing off a lot of people. Yeah. I think I just need to find my peeps. I was joking that I need some spectrumy MIT physics and engineering students to get into the.
There you go. Go dump a bunch of books over there. And,
I think I should go over and just peddle them right on the camp. Set up one of those card tables, with the prove me wrong. And just have the Fazuli out there. I think it's so weird in the way it's formatted too, that someone who's like screwy like this, like I am, would just open it up and immediately like get it. So there's someone for everyone, and there's a reader for every writer, I think, right? It's just for super fun.
And that's one of the fun things with the award and all the nice things that they said is somebody liked my book. It might only be one person, right? I don't care. Somebody liked it. And that just makes me feel good. And that's more than the award itself. It's just the idea that like somebody enjoyed it. I'm so glad.
Yeah. And again, the writer's life is difficult. It's not like we're buying and selling crypto. The return on investment is negligible to almost always negative. I mean, how many hours and hours of hard work do you pour into writing and publishing and then marketing a book compared to the actual return when it comes to the money? So getting a little bit of attention and getting some accolades goes a long way to upping that ROI just a little bit. Yeah. Which is, I'm not going to necessarily be a millionaire. It'd be nice if Netflix buys this stuff, and I won't turn them down if the deal is good. But along the way, it's every little bit counts. And kudos and thanks in reverse direction to the Outstanding Creator Award folks. Stephen Cyril is his last name. Stephen Cyril. We say hi. Thank you for making indie authors get a voice, right? It's a great opportunity for folks who otherwise would just be toiling in obscurity to get some recognition, get some press, and create a community. A sense of we're all in it together is great. Greg Sorber, who we're going to sell with in Pasadena, the mech warrior transformer novelist. He put it real well too, that it's the rising tide raises all boats, especially for indie writers, because there are way more readers than writers. And it's kind of a supply demand thing I never really thought about, which is there's plenty to go around, and there's so many different segments and different types of readers and different types of writers that supporting each other, fist pumping, having conversations, doing podcasts, joining awards, winning some, losing some, and then going out and actually selling books in person is really part of the fun, if not really the fun itself.
I think the writing and then getting deep into your characters is the fun part. But
I agree.
Fans is also the fun part.
I'm a total weirdo. I locked myself in my apartment for 6 weeks to finish the Fazul. And I'm not kidding, like 18-hour days. I've never worked harder. And I was wiped out, and it was so awesome. I saw the whole book, and I'm like, I'm making this happen the way I want it to. And it was all in here. And, to me, it's beautiful. It makes sense. Every part talks to every other part. And, I know I'm confusing some people, but at the same time, pay attention and it'll make sense.
Okay, so like your review from them, they got it. Like I think they really understood the story, the characters, the plot. Like they got it. It just wasn't for them, right? Because they were very clear about this is what it's about, and this is really cool, and this is blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But it was a mess, right? I mean,
yeah, it was. See, that's what I mean. It's a mess if it's confusing you because the parts don't quite get together. That's the only pushback I'll give. I'll give them credit for diving in there, spending time with it, and I did get 9 out of 10, which is not bad. And I got second, third place in a few categories, which was just kind of like, we got to give this guy something.
No, but they didn't have to give you anything.
That's true. So they did call it glorious.
It's not a guaranteed award thing.
Glorious, yeah. But my only pushback is it's not a mess. It all ties in. The question is, how does it tie in? And maybe it's just up here, which is fair. We'll see. And have I learned anything from this conversation and from their feedback for the sequel? No. Look how many beta testers we're going to have for the sequel.
Beta readers, you should. Trust me. There's the best. It's the best. If you're a beta reader out there, please contact me. I want you.
Okay, well, we'll put the call out. And you know what? Put a little message for Mookie too. If you're into like William Gibson meets Hunter S. Thompson with a little sprinkle of Douglas Adams and Thomas Pynchon, and you want crazy, super dense, zany prose, I'm at your disposal. Can't wait to hear from you. I could always
email my list and say, hey guys, if you're into this, email this guy.
See, that's the thing. There's something for everybody. You need that kind of segmentation, and you need to be sensitive to different kinds of audiences. That's the art of marketing, really. You're connecting people who are like-minded and want the same stuff. And that actually might be the saving grace of AI, because AI knows everything about everybody, right? And then it's chopping everything up. So you have profiles of millions of readers. You know their reading habits, you know what they like, you know how they shop. And then if you slice and dice our books and analyze them through that machine learning intelligence, hook us up. It's like, I think your audience is much broader than mine, but I still have a sizable audience if they only knew about it.
Exactly.
And that's the missing link. And I think AI is actually going to save our ass. It's going to eat us up in terms of creating their own novels, their own stories. But as indie marketers, I really am Pollyanna about the idea that go ahead and chop up the books, but then find us readers who and we know will love us. And that way we can spend more time writing what we love and less time trying to pitch it and trying to turn people onto it without really knowing what they like. Remember, you and I would stand there at LA Comic-Con and people would walk by, and we're both pretty good together because we're outspoken and we like to yell at people. Hey, do you like science fiction? And a lot of people would go by and they're like, no, I prefer fantasy. And we'd be like, well, now's the time. Come on over. So you can win some folks over, but it would be great to just be able to see inside their mind and go, bing, this is a neurodivergent male in their 40s. Good for me, right? Yeah, totally. So thanks for being in the Science Fiction and Fantasy Factory this afternoon.
Thanks again for having me.
Like, comment, share. Just again, ingridmoon.com, just like the author. She's got an awesome mailing list. You get updates on the Ingrid, and you can get her books there too.
And you can see where I'm going to be live if you want to come visit me in Southern.
Come visit at the Pasadena Book Fair, right? On January 20th.
No, it's Comic-Con. Pasadena Comic-Con.
Is it Comic-Con in Pasadena? See, that's my, that's how out to lunch I am. So we'll be at the Pasadena Comic-Con January 25th. with our fellow authors, Greg Sorber and Blake and Sherry Shimshock. And come see us.
It'd be fun.
And go check out the outstandingcreator.com awards, where you can see Ingrid.
I should put a link to the review on my website.
Yeah. And I'll put it in the description too. Ingrid's everywhere. You need to do like a Control F to find my books. Somewhere down there is like honorary mentions, but it's all good. Thanks so much, Ingrid. This was super fun.
Awesome.
And we'll follow up after too. We'll bring the whole crew for the Brady Bunch lineup.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Cool. Thank you.
Ready. Thank you.